Hello, everyone. It's day 65. Today, I started my day by finishing the CS50 Week 2 lecture on arrays. I did not even look at the lab or the homework. I just wanted to get the lecture out the way. It's just, that stuff is so long. It's better just to break it up and do one thing a day or something like that. But anyway, then I looked at the CSX callbacks and higher order functions. It was the next section. I watched the intro lecture video, and then they had a workshop, JavaScript, the hard parts, callbacks, and higher order functions, where like he went over again like the global execution context and like drawing out the diagrams, like what actually happens when you call the callback function and all that. And then I started doing the exercises. It's like challenge, kind of like free code camp exercise at the bottom. Now I probably have like 10 of those left. I think it was like 20 some in the section. No, more like, like 20 some in the section anyway. It was this one question though. It was like create a function that takes two callbacks as its arguments and adds them. What did it say? Create a function that takes two callback functions as its arguments and combine the callback functions and return them from one function. And then you had to look at the console.log statements that were already given to you and like make it work with so that it would input the right thing. Like I just could not even wrap my head around what it was even asking me to do for the longest. It turns out though, finally, I figured it out. When you take two callback functions as input, the whole purpose of a higher order function is it takes the callback function as input and then it also returns another function. So the point of the higher order function that was taking these two callback functions as its input was to return those callback functions back. We had done this exercise like two exercises before that, and it was like it had to basically have the same functionality as that exercise. And I realized that exercise, you had to pass in a callback function, and then if either of the results of the two callback functions that you had in that exercise were true, basically either or whatever, then that's the one that was returned. Or if they're both true, just I guess the first one it gets to was returned. So like this one had like the same concept. So you had to, inside the higher order function, you had to basically create another higher order function inside of that, and then pass in a variable, because I realized at the bottom of the console.log statements, both the callback functions took in parameters, but like when you pass in a callback function as a parameter, it doesn't have the parentheses or the variable. So like that part, I guess, made it confusing, but I realized you needed input somehow to pass into it. But like for this particular example, like there was no variable, there was nothing to input, like, but you just had to create something basically. So that one little part was still a little beyond me basically. Like we just created this variable and passed it, and then somehow like the answer was right, all my things checked out or whatever. But I ended up going on like an hour rabbit hole trying to find a good example on YouTube, but all of the people on YouTube ended up just doing an example of like add an event listener callback function or the set timeout, and like I just wanted and just a real example of just a callback function, not like callback function plus DOM. Like, I don't know. It's one thing I realized about a lot of tutorials now, like they do too much in one thing. Like I just want to know an example for this and nothing more. But anyway, still trying to wrap my head around callback functions. Like when you get into taking multiple callback functions as parameter, like that part's confusing or whatever. So I got to finish out that section. My intention was to finish it. However, that was not the case. I also did not read a chapter of the book, Think Like a Programmer, today. I low-key like overslept, and by the time I got up, I just wanted to get straight into the videos or whatever, so I wouldn't get behind. But yeah, So, day 65.